Access Radio, and this is Webster Tarpley, as usual, here from Washington, D.C. So the second wave of the world economic depression continues to lash the world. The news this afternoon, and that is to say this Friday, May 28th, going into Memorial Day, is that the ratings agency Fitch has downgraded Spanish government bonds from AAA to AA+, so down one step. And that move has been sufficient to crash the New York exchange by about 120 points. Europe was closed by the time they made these announcements, but Deutsche Bank and others are crashing. Other European bank stocks heavily down this afternoon in their aftermarket and so forth. Remember, of course, that Fitch is an ongoing criminal conspiracy, right? They are a racket. They are a racketeer-influenced, corrupt organization. They should not be in business because they have engaged in all kinds of corrupt practices, as we saw in the Senator Levin hearings a couple of weeks ago. So don't think that this is an independent agency. This is part of a hedge fund strategy to short these bonds and to short the euro, and that's Fitch. So there you have it. But in the meantime, of course, that ratchets down the level of the world economic depression one more step. And you see, there is no decoupling of Europe from the United States. Don't kid yourself, right? It's all these markets are interconnected by derivatives primarily, if not by anything else. And therefore, these effects are felt universally in the world of the speculators and the hedge fund hyenas. The big news, of course, this week, the U.S. campaign to isolate Germany and to obtain the rollback of the German measures against speculation. Germany has taken the lead. It's not the most probable outcome, but it's the one that we have, and we're glad to have it, that the German government has decided to resist the forces of international speculation. They've decided to use their independent sovereign powers to fight back against hedge funds, against derivatives, short sellers, speculative hyenas, the casino economy, the globalized hot money system. So Germany is now coming increasingly into conflict with that bankrupt system, and that's what we're seeing. Now, let's just review. It all goes back to decisions that were made about, almost 2 weeks ago by the time you hear this, and that was the German government, and this has not been well reported in the U.S. It's been covered up, so we want to go through it again. It's the first time that a major economic financial power has done something to counterattack the speculators by rolling back the rules of the hot money, speculative, globalized economy. And it takes the form of Chancellor Merkel, especially Finance Minister Wolfgang Schäuble, and the head of the German watchdog agency, the BaFin, and that is Jochen Sanyo, S-A-N-I-O, doing the following things: banning naked credit default swaps on the bonds of the Eurozone countries, the 16 Euroland states, the 16 countries that have the euro as their currency and therefore denominate their bonds in euros. It is now illegal in Germany to issue naked credit default swaps against those bonds. In other words, if you want to get credit default swaps against a Eurozone bond, you've got to own that Eurozone bond. Then you can plausibly argue that you're hedging, you're protecting yourself against fluctuations. In other words, you're an end user, and therefore you can hedge. But if you don't have the bond, you can't be a hedger. You're a speculator, and that is now illegal. In the original package of measures, they also banned the naked shorting of the stocks of 10 large German financial corporations, that is starting with Deutsche Bank, but then going on to the 2 large reinsurance companies, Munich Re and a couple of others, plus some large insurance companies. All of those were protected from naked shorting. If you wanted to short those stocks, You've got to own them so you can deliver them. You can't short them, sell them short without having them in your possession before the fact. Now, we know that Finance Minister Schäuble is determined to push ahead, and German officials, according to the Wall Street Journal, are impatient and dismissive of the whining coming from the Anglo-American derivatives bloc, the U.S.-British pro-derivatives combine in the world. They're, of course, whining. They're cooking up reasons why this is not good. It wasn't coordinated. Forget all that stuff. It's fluff. It's that the mission of Geithner and Summers is to make the world safe for derivatives, to make the world safe for hedge funds, to make the world safe for speculative hot money at all costs. Rather, the German thinking is being influenced by Schäuble, who has now emerged as the strong man of the German cabinet, that his sway, his clout, have been much enhanced by these measures, which break from the pattern of passivity, impotence, and the futility of the European government. So he is now dominating the German cabinet in this regard. He gave an interview to the Financial Times of London in which he pointed out markets are out of control, an important perception. Markets are now totally out of control, says Schäuble. The German government is determined to regulate over-the-counter derivatives. And that, of course, means banning some of them, as in the case of the naked credit default swaps that have been banned on the Eurozone, euro-denominated government bonds. The markets are out of control. Over-the-counter derivatives must be regulated. And Schäuble then goes on to say, we want to focus on the disconnect between financial transactions on the one hand and the real exchange of goods and services on the other. That is the price-value dualism. That is the fundamental dualism of economics, and that's become especially acute in the recent decades, given the hot money, derivatives, hedge fund, speculative economy. There is an over-financialization, that the hypertrophy, the excessive growth, the exorbitant growth of the financial side leaves it practically disconnected from the underlying world of production, goods, and services. I would again say production of goods and services would be better than real exchange of goods and services. But still, he's going in the right direction, and he points out that these now are in no relation to one another. In other words, they have become largely decoupled, and the financial side is taking off into the wild blue yonder, and the exchange of goods and services is languishing, and production, above all, I would add, is languishing. So that's the thinking of the German cabinet. That's the economic center of Europe, country that buys with China to see who's going to be the largest exporter in the world in any given year, a economic great power by anybody's calculation. Now, a couple of days ago this week, Schäuble has pointed out that Germany is determined to press forward with these measures. He has sent a draft law, a bill has been sent to the German parliament, the Bundestag, where he says that the purpose of these regulations is to limit certain transactions which are amplifying the crisis, and therefore to avoid turbulence and volatility. And we'll be back in a minute with the details of the new German bill.